Hello and welcome to Cheat Sheet, the podcast where we do the work so you don't have to. I'm Wilfred Frost.
And I am Sophie Ridge. It is Tuesday, the 13th of January, and this is what we've got for you.
The BBC's fighting back. Of course, you remember Donald Trump filed a lawsuit against them. They're trying to get it thrown out before it goes to trial.
X could be fined more than £18 million. This is after Ofcom started an investigation into its AI tool, Grok.
And there's calls for the boss of Southeast Water to be fired after residents under their remit were without water for another day.
So we just want to start today with a story that's been quietly rumbling on. This is Donald Trump's lawsuit against the BBC. It's all about how this Panorama program was edited. He says it made him look like he was urging supporters to storm the Capitol building, and the BBC has previously apologised. But the update is this. So the BBC are basically asking the US court to throw the whole thing out. They're saying this is ridiculous. It doesn't stand up. We should not do it anymore.
Yeah, and they're making the point that he still got elected, that the program didn't actually air in America, and they can't prove there was actual malice behind it, an intention to defame. On top of that, that the program was balanced overall. All very legitimate arguments. They're fighting back in a way that you might say some US broadcasters haven't with recent suits, and they haven't got that much to lose by doing so. There's BBC America and there's BritBox over there, but it's not, their bread and butter in the same way that you might say some of the US organizations would. So, I guess we don't take sides, but good luck to them. The latest on Iran overnight is that President Trump has threatened any country that keeps trading with Iran to be hit with a 25% tariff. So it's another kind of economic pressure on the regime. And the big trading partners are the likes of Brazil, Turkey, Russia. Imposing tariffs can take some time. So it's a threat more than perhaps an immediate stick to hit the regime with, but it's certainly going to affect them.
And look, this comes as the number of people killed in these protests has reached at least 646 people killed. I mean, this is a big number, and it is likely to go higher as well. It's the US-based human rights activist news agency that are trying to get their best estimate on what the total is. The internet's down, phone lines cut off. The Iranian regime is, of course, blaming America for this. They say it's all about US interference and what they're calling Israeli and US-backed terrorists.
I'm just going to add as well on the economy, a snapshot of the pressure they're under. Already a failing economy, but the Iranian rial, the currency, is down 95% so far just this year. It's down 2,000% in the last 12 months. Inflation is somewhere above 50%, very hard to measure. Impossible to continue in that regard. You can't really import anything, and your friends, in inverted commas, your allies who trade with you, like China and Russia and Turkey and Brazil, they're not going to accept your currency. So when we talk about what extra pressure the US might have to apply, things like these tariffs have a huge, huge impact. Now, that doesn't help with what comes next, but it does really help with making the current regime in dire straits. How do you pay the IRGC? How do you pay the police when your currency is essentially worthless?
Now, for days, we've been hearing about how people are using Grok, which is the AI tool on the platform X, to basically make sexual pictures of people. So they're taking random images and they're saying, put this person in a string bikini, put this person in a cling film bikini, or whatever it is. And it should say this is happening to people from Keir Starmer to random people that they know in their everyday life. So that this is a huge issue, and it's provoked a response, as you expect. What's interesting is we've seen, I think, the government really stepping up its response to this in the last 24 hours or so. The Prime Minister is describing Grok as disgusting and shameful. He's now threatening to control Grok, in his words, if X keeps creating these images as well. And the other thing that they're doing is Liz Kendall, the technology secretary, is bringing in a new criminal offence by this week as well to effectively try and make sure that this cannot happen anymore.
What I think is so interesting on this is that the Online Safety Act means, not that I'd say Ofcom is the fastest moving organisation in the world, sorry if you're listening, people at Ofcom, but it gives the authority and the power to act much quicker than otherwise. We don't have to pass fresh legislation in a way that takes forever. So they, if they're all in kind of agreement on this, they can move quite quickly, which is very interesting.
The other point I want to make about the political aspect of this, which I think is really interesting, is that we have seen, I think, a bit of a shift when it comes to the Labour Party and the so-called kind of tech bros this week. Because Keir Starmer and those around him, I think, have been quite unwilling to really be muscular when it comes to regulation of online platforms. So when it comes to AI, for example, they've embraced it. They haven't even banned phones in schools, let alone banning social media for under 16s. There's been a resistance. And that's caused a split in the party, because we have had these voices coming forward, from Andy Burnham to Wes Streeting to some of the backbenchers that I've been speaking to, saying that actually they're not comfortable with this. They want them to go further. So it's a dilemma for Keir Starmer. Does he irritate Donald Trump by being hard on Elon Musk, or does he risk alienating his own backbenchers and the public, I should say, who actually want more regulation in this area, according to all the polling? And I think there has been a hardening of that. Just look at the way that he has described Elon Musk's platform, disgusting and shameful. Elon Musk is putting abusive users before women and children. Personally, I don't think you'd have seen that language even a couple of weeks ago.
We've got new data about immigration enforcement raids, and they've shot up by 77% since Labour took over.
Yeah, so the Home Office says there's been an 83% jump in the number of illegal migrants arrested working in the black economy. And look, this is predominantly nail bars, it's car washers, it's barbershops, cash businesses, effectively. But there's also some interesting stuff about migration levels more widely. Net migration falling to pre-Brexit levels.
And that it's possibly we're going to be net zero on migration is some people's analysis. The FT wrote about this today. I saw Fraser Nelson write about it a week ago. I think this is really fascinating and really important. On one level, we're going to start to see if voters care more about illegal immigration, where the numbers aren't likely to fall much, versus legal migration, where they are falling a lot. Second point is, actually, is a lot of the credit for this, if it's what you want, down to some of the changes the last Tory government made just as they were leaving. But more important than this is, why are these numbers falling? Is it because we are lowering the number of people who come in, or is it because people are leaving? And this, I just want to go back to the last data we got on this on the 27th of November, and I think this was really undercovered at the time. We saw the biggest single outflow of citizens in the UK for more than a century. 693,000 people were leaving. And within that, 107,000 people aged 16 to 34 left. British nationals, 107,000 aged 16 to 34. What any economy must avoid are young workers leaving. And whilst on the surface you could look at some of this data and go, oh, this is a win because immigration is falling. What is crucial for an economy to survive is that's not your most productive workers choosing to leave. And there is a risk hidden in the data that is happening.
So the wrong kind of people leaving the country, people who are contributing to the economy, people who are young, who are working.
Yeah, and we don't know why they've left. We don't exactly know that data, but this is not us taking in, it's not purely us taking in fewer foreign nationals. It's British nationals who are young choosing to leave. That is potentially a very worrying trend long-term for the economy, even if it's a short-term political gain.
So South East Water, it's another nightmare for people living in Kent and Sussex. South East Water promising supplies will be restored by the middle of this week. 30,000 homes left without water. And look, it's not a one-off. This is the second time in 2 months that people in Tunbridge Wells has had no water. And this means, having to pour water down the toilet to flush it. It means buying bottled water and queuing for it. It means schools being shut down. 20 schools having to close yesterday. And a lot of MPs now, several MPs calling for David Hinton, the boss of that company, to step down in his role.
That does it for Cheat Sheet today. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure to let us know what you're thinking and what stories you'd like us to cover. Cheat Sheet at sky.uk.